Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Inside Groove Short Track Show. This is the show where short track racing rules. My name is Tom Baker. I am the host and creator of the show, and it's great to be with you on a Tuesday night special edition here in a way. We are live, and we are excited about being live, and hopefully we will find some of our favorite groove fanatics live with us here shortly. We're going to have a special guest on this show. Brendan Young is going to join us, and Brendan's going to talk about the 350 super modified situation up in the Northeast in New England and at Oswego in particular. And of course, also going to talk about, we're going to talk a little bit about the ISMA show that just happened at up in Northeast Pennsylvania. Yes, did you know Northeast Pennsylvania is actually a town or a borough, and it is not in Northeast Pennsylvania. It's in Northwestern Pennsylvania. So somebody was drunk when they came up with that name and agreed to it, I guess. But Lake Erie Speedway is a beautiful racetrack, and saw 16 super modifieds there the other day, and they put on a show. Tyler Schillick ended up winning that show, so we'll talk about that a little bit. Of course, you are always welcome in the chat to participate. That is why we do the show live. So jump in the chat, say hello, tell me what you thought about the ISMA MSS race on Saturday at Lake Erie Speedway in Pennsylvania, and let's have some conversation. Brendan will be joining us. In just a moment. We're going to talk about the situation with 350 Supers, and I want to share a little bit of my perspective on what's happened with IHRA. Man, they are in free fall right now, and I know it doesn't look good, but for some reason, and I think I can share the reason why it's not happening. So and why it's kind of why it's gone downhill so fast. Because I don't think this is fatal. I really don't. I think I don't think this is fatal. I think that there are things going on that are really interesting. But I do believe that the IHRA will recover from this and be back. So I'm really excited to see what's going on here. So as you can see, if you jump in the chat, I can bring some of your chats onto the show. This is a video first show. So feel free to jump in the chat and say hello. Like I said, Brandon Young will be joining us in a moment. So let's talk about Lake Erie a little bit while we're waiting for Brendan to get in here. And man, I'm going to start with 16 cars put on a show that made it look like 24. In my opinion, the way that event went, and I know Tyler Schillick, won the race fairly comfortably. But I thought there was a lot of passing throughout the field in that event, at least in the earlier stages. It's a very interesting track there. I think the banking in the corner is like 12 degrees, and it's progressive. So there clearly were at least a couple of grooves. And I thought that they put on one whale of a show, to be honest. And I'm really excited to see what happens when they get to Jennerstown in a couple weeks, and to see if the car counts stay the same or go up, because they really need to they really, I would really like to see it hit 20. And I think we're capable of that. But it was still a fantastic show. The cars were very competitive. Um, it's uh it's going to it's going to be good. So hopefully we get Brendan in. He's having some technical issues here, but we'll get him in. And I want to talk some 350s because a lot of stuff going on with that division, particularly at Oswego. And I thought it would be good to get Brendan on, and he's been very participatory in trying to create some sort of unified rules package when it comes to motors. Um, and so he he's really helped quite a bit. And he went as far as to put a smack motor in his car, um, and work with that a little bit with the track. And so if we can get him on, we're going to talk about how that all went. Many of you saw the post, I'm sure, in the Super Modified Facebook group or groups about all of the work that was done. He ended up finishing sixth in the last 350 Super Modified race at Oswego. He was by no means the fastest car, but apparently he was told by one of the tech officials, I believe it was Tracy Doyle, not to bring the motor back. I don't know. I don't really know why, but hopefully we'll be able to get him on and let him talk. And if not, I'll try to work with him. Bear with me if I look down at my phone. I'm communicating with Brendan. He was going to try to restart his computer because it wasn't letting the microphone cooperate, apparently. So he'll keep working on that. But so I don't really know exactly where we go from here, trying to kind of make a unified set of rules, at least that everybody can be happy with from the officials side of things. I don't think there's a problem with either a smack race or a 350, an Ohio 350 Super Sprint Series race. I think that in both of those cases, when either of those organizations are, hosting an event, I think that the crate motors that run at Oswego and up in New England at Star, I think, I think they're welcome, and I think there's a sort of a package in place for them to be able to run those races. It seems like Oswego is where the sticking point is, and from what Kevin Sears told me from the Ohio group, they worked everything out for the Ohio motor package to be fine. And that's a good thing. I honestly thought that it looked a little bit like, even without the restrictor plates or any kind of sort of compromise with those motors from Ohio, it looked like Danny Shirey and Sawyer Stout were still a few tenths off the pace. So that worked out, I guess, for Oswego. And but somebody like the smack package. And so Brendan is in the chat if y'all want to join in. And so Brendan, if you can hear me, just jump in and talk a little bit about what's been going on. And I brought everybody up to speed that the motor that you were running, which was a Smack Tour motor, didn't seem to make people happy up there, even though you finished sixth. So maybe you can enlighten us if you have any details on what seems to be the problem with it, because it certainly didn't seem to clearly make you faster than everybody else. So we'll let you go ahead and jump in on that, and we'll wait for. Let's see if I can. Give me just a second here. I'm still learning this software. And Brendan, if you need to come in, I don't know if you can jump in the studio here on your phone. Right now, I see you in the chat, but you're not actually in my studio. So maybe you can use that link and figure your way into the studio so that we can actually get you on. And even if we have to have you without video, but try the video and we'll see how it works. Okay, so so that seems to be a bit of a sticking point for progress in the 350 division. And the hardest part of that is that Oswego, hello Larry Trinka, and hello Justin, and I see Brendan in the chat, I don't know. Brendan, I don't know if you can. I don't think, because I'm using Riverside, I don't think you can join from Facebook. But if you see something that says join broadcast, you can try that. I don't think that's going to work. And hello, Rita. Glad to have all of you here. So, it's, I don't know. I'm not here necessarily to, to take sides or whatever. But the hardest part here is that the way that I look at this is that Oswego's having trouble putting a decent field of 350s together. And it sort of seems like there's some resistance to finding the way to make the motors work. So, it's I don't know really where it goes. The Ohio guys are, that's a long travel, a long trip for them. And I think we've kind of, and again, if there's somebody from the Ohio group that wants to jump in on this, it seems like, from what I'm hearing, it seems like we've kind of gotten everybody situated here with regard to that package. Now, whether or not that package is fast enough to contend for wins there, I'm not sure. But it certainly didn't look like it was a deep threat in the first time up for those guys. But then again, the setups probably weren't accurate, totally what they wanted either. So I guess we'll see. So I'll be curious to see where that goes. And if we can get Brendan's tech issues worked out here and get him into our studio, that would be good. I think he's probably, now that he's trying to do it on his mobile, he's going to have to download the Riverside app first. But I do this because this is the software I edit in. So instead of going straight to Facebook Live, we're doing it through Riverside. So bear with me. I don't know where to go here with the 350 division. I think we might have hit a stalemate. It seems like unless something changes, they are not going to allow the SMAC motors to compete, at least without modifications. And I don't see a lot of those fellas deciding that they want to try and run. If they've got to be even slower than Brendan was. He was good. And probably, maybe there's another 10th or two in there for him with the right setup, but I didn't see domination by any means. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's just tough. I'm sure there are probably teams among the regulars at Oswego that they only want the crates. That's it. They don't really want anything else. They don't want SMAC motors. And it's interesting. I'm not believing that any of the crate motors are actual crate motors. I think they've all been worked on and then they've all been sealed, but I don't believe that I just don't believe they're actual crate motors, really, at the end. And so it seemed to me like They all were fairly equal. So I guess we'll see. But Oswego's the biggest track, and that's you're trying to you're trying to help everybody as much as you can. And if for whatever reason Oswego's decided not to cooperate and doesn't want the SMAC motors there, then I think you're limiting the growth of the division, and you're I don't know, because not everybody seems to want to have the crates. So Brendan, if you can hear me, you need to download the Riverside app and then use my link to get into the studio if you're using your phone. You'll have to download the Riverside FM app first. So we'll hopefully get Brendan involved here and let him kind of give us more detail. But that's what's going on with that. Now, and I'll get back to the ISMA race in a moment because I have some more to say there. But I want to just hit one other topic that's been very hot when it comes to short track racing. And this doesn't directly involve super modifieds, but it is very instructive as to how to or not to start a series and grow a series. The IHRA, which is owned now by a gentleman named Daryl Cottle, who is in the tech space, and he makes parts. He does a lot of work with folks like Elon Musk. Daryl doesn't lack resources. Okay, he's not, he's well resourced, and he was a former powerboat racer. He bought the IHRA and went on a buying spree. He was buying up old drag strips that were shut down. He bought a powerboat series. He bought a tractor pull series. He started a late model and pro late model series, basically a blue collar cars tour is really what it is. And he's bought all kinds of facilities. Bought Rockingham, and gosh, I mean, I can't even tell you how many. It's really interesting to see what's happened here because they started the year and everything was fine for a little while. And then we started seeing personnel changes and, within the management group and the leadership group. And we've seen some rule changes here and there. But in some of that, I would have expected because, you're a new entity. There's going to be growing pains. The late model series looked like it was doing the best of everything they had. They started off with 37 cars at their first event. This is an event where the late models have gone back to the 90s, basically, with the rule book. And it's great. They had 37 cars at the first race. I think they were high 20s. And then they ended up being, I think they went to Anderson. Yeah, it was Anderson Speedway. And they, what did they have? I can't remember how many cars they had at Anderson this last race, but it was still a good, healthy field. And going back to Pulaski County, which is Motor Mile, for those of you who have been around a while, formerly known as Motor Mile, they were going back there for the next race, and it looked like they were going to have over 40 cars, and all of a sudden they announced that was shut down. They shut the entire series down. And for the balance of the year, so they've basically canceled the rest of the races, the late model series. They've canceled the big division of drag racing, the National Series, Pro Series, for the rest of the year. And so, there's a lot of conjecture. And people are saying that whatever he was doing with Elon ended the agreement or whatever. I don't know. But here's what I can say, that I can say it with at least some sense of logic anyway. The first of which is, The first of which is it makes no sense. I've heard so much talk about data centers. He just bought it all for data centers. Why? Why would you do that? Why would you go to all of the expanse of this big charade about opening all these facilities if you're just going to turn them into data centers? You could just bought the facilities and turn them into data centers. That makes no sense. And not all of these properties are even big enough for a data center. It doesn't, that to me makes no sense at all. So I want to just toss my hat up and say, based on common sense and logic, either that or he's just a ridiculous fool, because again, why would you put all these press releases out and start running races and do all that if you were just going to turn all your facilities into data centers? It doesn't make any sense. I think what happened is much more simply explained, and that is he just scaled too quickly. As I said to somebody earlier, I think the man basically tried to build a skyscraper on top of a card table. If you don't have the infrastructure in place and you don't have the full vision in place and you don't have timelines in place, he bought a lot of these old facilities that have sat for years, and they're decrepit and they need a lot of work. And I think that he thought, well, if I just throw enough cash into all of this, it'll just happen. Like we can bypass permits or speed up permits or do whatever. And I think it just got to a point where he just tried to do too much too fast. I'm not believing that the man had nefarious motives with any of this, because that just doesn't make any logical sense. You can call him whatever you want, but the business that he's in and that he knows is, it's a very fast moving business. You just make the parts and sell them, I think he grossly, underestimated what it would take to do all the stuff he was trying to do in 2026. And so I think he just got overextended as far as, that goes. So I guess we'll see. The measure here is obviously going to be what happens in 2027. At the late model series, that he proved one very big point. And I, if you're here watching this because of this discussion about IHRA, I'm going to wind it back. So I want to get back to the super modifieds. I'm going to wind it back with a couple of thoughts here. First off, anyone from late model racing who participated in that series, before you just badmouth him and write him off and talk about what an idiot he was and, all of this, think about the fact that first, there's no saying he's not coming back in 2027. Time will tell that. But think about the fact that he did prove a point. And that is that we have a huge appetite for a late model stock series and a pro late model series that doesn't involve six-figure freaking budgets. He proved that if you put up the money, now granted, not too many people can probably afford, to pay the purse out right away, but he put up the money. Okay. And he put up the series, and the rule book was brilliant. And the at-track help from I've talked to two different drivers and heard a post from a third one today. Saw a post. Brandon Hanks over in Memphis did a post either last night or today that I saw. Brandon was racing in the series, and then I've talked to a couple of other drivers too today. And hey, Brendan made it. We'll get to Brendan in a minute. I'll just finish this point. I talked to a couple of other drivers today from that series, and all of them said the same thing, that the on-track product, the at-track people, the folks who were officiating the series, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Okay, nobody had any complaints with that. Now there's some conversation out there that maybe some people from Anderson haven't been paid yet. Don't know about that. Here's what I know. I know that everybody really enjoyed running those races, and everybody thought that that series had a lot of potential. So here's my thought on this. And if some of you want to jump in the chat and talk about it, we can. Hello. Hello, Carol and Clark. Carol Husak in the chat. Love it. Multi-award winning Northeast racing writer and somebody I'm happy to have as a member of our staff. But IHRA definitely in trouble here. Okay, but I think we need to just step back and give them a little bit of time and space to see if it starts coming back around, or what happens for 27. And if not, I'm going to tell you, somebody needs to start a late model series with that same exact rule book as what they had, because late model stock racing in North Carolina is dead. Except for the Cars Tour, it's dead. Hickory, I think 9 cars. It's dead. So it just proves that there's a real appetite for a touring series for Saturday night short track racers, and so somebody needs to either buy that thing or start something along the same vein and have the same exact rule book and do it the exact same way they were doing it, because it was awesome. Okay, Brendan Young, welcome to the show, buddy. It took a little while to get you here, but you finally got here.
It took a long while. Sorry about that, but thank you.
No, don't apologize. Technology confounds me every day. So let's bounce back to the 350 super modified discussion, because I'm still just a little confused, and I'm sure you can help straighten this all out here. So you had, we saw Danny Shirey and we saw Sawyer Stout come to Oswego with the Ohio package. And what I was told by Kevin Sears after that was over is that they were cleared to run their package. So the Ohio motor package appears to be now fine to come and run. You had a SMAC motor in your car, and so talk us through. And feel free to tell us the whole story here. I was just trying to get bullets out. And if I'm wrong on any of this, please do correct me.
No, so far I don't think you've been wrong at all.
Okay.
I don't believe they were told they can just come wide open. I know they did run the feature wide open, no restrictor plate or anything, but the track didn't even know that until after the fact. But they were just not competitive in the heat or warm-ups with any sort of restrictor plate. So they decided, we already came 6 hours or whatever, so we're gonna race. And so they tried no restrictor plate for the feature. Sawyer had some car troubles. I know he wasn't on all day, but Danny seemed like he got pretty decent in the feature. I want to say I think he made a comment. I think he said his best was about 17.2 throughout the day.
Okay.
So, I mean, getting close, but the feature guys, Robbie and Mike, that night specifically were a 16.7 in the feature for Mike. 21 of his 25 laps were under a 17.0. And then Robbie was 19 of his 25 laps were about a 16.8. So the pace has definitely went up tremendously. I think if you had all the Ohio guys every single week with their engine package and time to tune up to the track, obviously they run, even if, say, Sandusky is a similar size track, they just don't carry the momentum we do around Oswego. So it's a huge adjustment for anybody to come to.
Sure.
So I don't think anybody's going to be great right out of the box, but Danny was definitely getting closer. And I wasn't told they got the green light that they can just come now without some sort of restriction, but I could be wrong. I haven't heard anything about yes or no from Sawyer or Danny about that.
Okay, so somebody from that organization told me that they were clear. Now, again, he may have been, maybe he was, maybe he didn't have the right information or whatever, but I was told that they were clear to come and run, and they should be, honestly, because I don't see that. I mean, yes, okay, it's going to take him a little while to dial in the setup, but I just that didn't seem to be a huge advantage at Oswego at all. And your smack motor now, walk me through. Did you make the decision to do this kind of just on your own, or did they ask you to do it? Or walk me through your whole piece of this, because I had no idea that you were doing that. And thank you for giving that time and dollars to do it. But walk us through that.
So originally our plan was we have an RV, so we wanted to travel, do a little bit of smack racing this year, change it up a little bit. And obviously my car came from the smack series and it was quite successful, so we thought it'd be a fun experiment.
Right.
Um, I was working a lot at the beginning of the season, and so between work and money, we didn't quite have the time to go out and race smack. The first, I think it was a Claremont race on a Friday, we were planning on going to, and it
Okay.
rained out. We had a 2 barrel in case we wanted to go to Oswego anyway. So that rained out. So Saturday we said, let's just go to Oswego. I texted Chuck and said, hey, can I come with this motor following the rules that you have laid out in the rule book, which originally was a 2 barrel carb and a 4.0 gear rule as the max.
Okay.
We said, we've got all the stuff for it. We'll come and we'll try it. And Chuck said, yep, come on. So we went up. Actually, it was Friday night we went up, and because Claremont already canceled, and we went up and did Fast Friday, and we were like a 18.5 or something. We were out to lunch.
Okay.
So I texted Chuck after that night and said, are we going to be able to make some changes, or should I just send the car home because we're not even close. It's not even
Yeah.
worth me unloading it again. And he said, well, let's work on it. You're already here, and we'll use tomorrow as a test session. So we said, okay. We were putting gear to the car. Actually, Tracy Doyle and Dalton were very helpful that night,
Okay.
helping us with the car. We put a little bit bigger jets in it. We tried all we could. Um, Never quite got the pace we needed, especially on restarts. It was really bad. Um, then I had prior obligations for the next race, so I missed that completely.
Okay.
And then I think it was June 6th. Sawyer and Danny both came out, and Larry Gibson texted me saying they were going to bring some restrictor plates. They wanted to do some testing. They were originally supposed to bring like 6 cars, but only Sawyer and Danny ended up coming. So it was good that I was
Oh,
the third car at least.
yeah.
Um, so I ran the whole day with that 40 plate in, and they were going back and forth, and we were just getting a little bit quicker each time, starting to figure the car out. Um, and then we ran the same thing again last race, and we finally got the car in a decent window. Went second fastest in practice, touched the 16.9.
Okay.
Heat race, same thing. They started me on pole. Mike Bruce was sixth, and he just drove around the field to try to run me down. I was first few laps like a 17.4 2. But Joey Scanlon didn't have a great car in the heat. So his first couple laps were a lot slower, and I was running away the first few laps.
Okay.
And so the track officials, and especially Doyle, I think they're watching with their eyes and not their stopwatch. And so it did
Oh,
look
I've
like I
seen that
jumped out
before.
to yeah, it did look like I jumped out to a good lead, which I did. But then just ran consistent laps around the 17.1. I did touch a 16.9 in the second class lap. Mike was pretty consistent, right around the same. So I think we were close. The car definitely isn't bad anymore. I think some of their main complaints was I had better drive off the corner. Um, I didn't feel like it was that crazy,
I mean,
especially in the feature last race. I mean, on the last restart, there's 4 to go, so it was single file, and Talon jumped on it coming out of 2, caught all of us napping, especially me,
yeah.
and I put it right to the floor, and they pulled me into 3. So I definitely don't think we had any sort of massive advantage at all. We're definitely close to what I think we should be to try to get everybody to come. But so yeah, we finished the feature 6th. I only passed one person. Dawson went around the outside of me. He was rolling good. So yeah, finished 6th after a few people wrecked out. So it was honestly a lucky 6, to be honest. And as soon as I get back to my pit, Tracy Doyle comes up on his golf cart, parks right behind my car, and said, "Get that plate for me." And I said, "Oh, so, Chuck told me I can just leave it in because we've already changed the carb probably 25 times already. So he said, we'll just leave it in and we'll see how next week goes. And he said, no, you're done. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, don't come back here with that car. I just got a call from up top. You're done running this thing. Don't come back unless you have a different motor in that. I'm like, did we do something wrong? He said, and then that's when he started raising the energy levels a little bit. Said,
Yeah.
you're way too effing fast. I watched it. You're blowing their doors off. I said, I just got 6. I don't know if you were watching a different race than I was. He said,
Come
yeah, but
on, man.
in the heat, you're blowing them away. You're rolling. And I said, okay, hang on one
There's live
second.
cars in the heat race, for crying
Right.
out loud. This is not rocket science.
Yeah. So I said, all right, just wait 1 second. I went and grabbed my phone and pulled out all the lap times and showed them right to him. I don't care. You're way too fast. And my mom was standing right there and she said, that's bullshit. He was not too fast. And as soon as she said the word bullshit, it really escalated and he went off the handle,
Yeah,
started
well.
screaming at all of us. I'm like, all right, cool. You can have your plate. We'll leave. That's fine. And so that's where we left off last Saturday.
So, okay. Wow. Yeah. Someone must have been watching a different feature.
I think so.
Because I don't understand. And if there's anybody from the Speedway watching this, feel free to jump in and chat, because I really would like to know what's going on, and why, you looked at that and thought that motor was so much bigger and badder than what's out there. I mentioned earlier that, I don't believe that there's a stock 604 crate in the bunch at Oswego right now. Just because there's a seal on the motors, I don't buy that any of those motors haven't been worked on, because I don't think a crate motor at Oswego Speedway not being worked on goes out and runs mid 16s. I just don't. I'm sorry. Please, Brendan, if you feel differently, tell me I'm full of it, because that wouldn't be the first time.
I can't confirm anything either way. That's been one of my main,
Either confirm or deny.
no, I wouldn't say my main complaints. I guess my complaint is that as soon as I come off the track, for now it's 3 years, everybody's saying, put a cam in that thing. Everybody else has it. You got to soup this engine up. You got to do this. You got to do that. I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
If you came to me with a receipt and it shows this person's name, this motor build, and you showed me 5 guys that had it, okay, now I might entertain doing something. But it's all hearsay. People can come up to me and say, "Oh, this person's cheating, this person's that." It's not worth my time to even get into that. I don't want to. That's not something I would ever be proud of anyway. I souped it up and then I go and win. It's like, oh, look at me. Yeah, I threw a cam in last week. Now I can win. Like, I don't know. It's just.
I just don't. And again, I would love to have a motor builder come on and tell me how that happens, because I've watched enough to not believe that that's going to happen without something more than just stock. So I'm not calling anyone a cheater. I guess I'm just saying that I feel like in some way, shape, or form, we've sent these motors to whoever their official guy is. And he's put a seal on them, but that doesn't mean nothing happened in between times, and
Right.
I've always thought that if you just look at horsepower on a dyno sheet, and if you're it, and this is what I think they ended up doing in the SBS class, if I understand my facts correctly, is they gave them a range basically of horsepower with a maximum, and as long as you're within that range, you're good. They seal it, and and everybody's happy. And I haven't seen that we, that we've had a big advantage of anybody in that division, and so it's just interesting to me that they've chosen to do this in the 350 class, because that's the class that needs the most help. There's 24 SBS cars, there's 10.
And that's the problem, is nobody from SBS is graduating because of all that goes on in the 350 class.
Yeah.
There's no appeal to it. I mean, some people don't love the SBS. They put on some pretty good shows. Some of them do have a lot of cautions, but when there's that many people out there and it's a stepping stone, it's going to
Right.
happen.
It's going to
But
happen.
it's a very healthy class, and I thought a few more of them would come up. I know a couple of them have a 350 sitting in the garage, but I don't know. I think the small blocks, you can only do so much with the car to make it the next step up. And in 350s, we have these crate motors, and a lot of the other drivers want to say yes, we want to keep the crate because to save for
Yeah.
cost savings,
Yeah.
but at the same time they have a $60,000 chassis. So I'm saying now I can't say anything because I have a newer Muldoon car, but
I don't
my
want to
purple
go there
car is 25 years old,
yeah.
and we go from a $15,000 car with the crate motor. So we'll say the motors are even, but then we have 3 or 4 cars that I race against every week that if I went and wanted to get one built tomorrow, it cost me 40, 50, 60 grand just for the chassis. So I'm like, there's just such a technology advantage on that side. It's like you could put 85% of 350s with the biggest motor you can build.
Yeah.
And Mike Bruce is dialed right now. I'm not saying he's cheating or anything, but that car is absolutely dialed. Same with Talon and Dawson. Joey has those things just absolutely hooked up around the track. They're passing anywhere they want. I don't think they're getting beat by somebody with 600 horse. I mean, they're just on another level right now. And
well,
I think the engine's the last part that I don't know.
I think that's where the rub is right now. And by the way, Joey Hawksby, thank you. Appreciate you coming in and appreciate you. Joey says, for those of you who can't see the chat, my engines are stock GM sealed, never worked on. So there. So
I think his are the only 2 cars that are GM sealed.
If that's true. Well, you know, it's again, yeah, it's just this whole division is such a mess. And it's a shame because it's a great division. And you know, I want to see the division grow. And there are Chris asked if there are, let me get his note on the stream. Chris Myers, are there any Oswego 350s race ready but not racing? Well, yes, there are.
I'd say 3 or 4 sitting at least 30 minutes from the track.
Yeah,
at least.
Because we get 20 or 21 for classic, and there's several of them that are still local. So we know that Griffin Miller's got one that to replace the one that got destroyed earlier. I think that's was one of the, I think it was Ryan Battle's car he bought.
Something like that, yeah.
So he should be back out with that. But this whole thing just is so, it's like I said, it's such a mess because SMAC has a decent field and SMAC puts on great shows. The Ohio series has a great field. Now they were down to 11 or 12 their last race or two, but that series is going through a bit of a changeover because that was an Ohio series that ran a few shows in Michigan or Indiana. Now it's a touring series. And I think there's some guys that kind of weren't prepared for that. So they're going to fluctuate a bit. And so it's going to be an interesting scenario to see what happens at Oswego because I don't, for whatever reason, we just can't build. It's kind of it's almost a semifinal. What we used to know as a semifinal. An 11-car feature is not, that's not a big field of cars. And right. I think it's a shame because I love the people in it. I know that everybody's, the teams are busting their tail. And, I'm just looking at it going, why can we not grow the field? What's wrong with this? And if you've got available cars out there and you can put them together, then why are we not doing that? And, I really, again, it's not my deal. But I think it's a shame that that at least at this moment they're outlawing the SPAC motor entirely. They're not even saying, can we try this other thing or that other thing? It's kind of like, don't bring the motor back. It's like, all right, you've just taken, 15 or 16 cars or more, and told them, don't come here and run unless you come and buy our motor. Meanwhile,
Right.
In a few weeks' time, what is it, next weekend, I think, actually, or is it 2 weeks? What are we, 14th? So it's next weekend. There's a race at Lancaster for the Ohio series, and all the Oswego cars are welcome. All the crates are welcome.
I'm not allowed there either.
Why are you not allowed?
So with the SMAC motor, I'm not allowed there
Oh,
either.
so they don't allow the SMAC motor either. Now,
Right.
see, that's interesting. Why?
Which was disappointing because when we started working on this and Larry came into the picture with these restrictor plates and stuff, and he asked Oswego, hey, can we come and test this? And they finally gave in after 2 years of asking, and they came over. They did give in. They tested. Didn't go amazing, but and then when I say, can I come out there with a SMAC motor to get more testing, and he says no, I'm like, well, that's a little bit hypocritical. You just asked another track to do you a favor and let them come, but then you won't let me come with that. And if I was going out there and I won 2 or 3 races at Oswego already, I'm driving by people that I understand that. I'm not here to piss anybody off. I want to, like I said in my post, I'm looking for the future, for the benefit of this class. And so it's just disappointing that we're putting a kibosh to it so fast when I haven't taken anything from anybody. I mean, I beat Joey Scanlon last week. He was the only one, so I took $50 from him, we can say. So I'll give him $50 if that's what it takes.
I'm not sure Joey's worried about that, but
no, exactly. So I mean, it's not like I've beat the field at all this year. I'm not taking anything from anybody. Oh, I did take one heat win too, so we got to think about that. But I don't know. It's just I did talk with Larry today, and I'm trying to get a hold of John Burke and find some sort of middle ground. But the problem is all three, the Tereses at Oswego, Larry out in Ohio, and John at SMAC, they all believe they did the right thing when they started their own series. Larry says, I wanted it to be cheaper, so we put a better cam in it for a little bit more reliability. John says you can build it however you want. If you want to build a motor that runs for 3 years, do it, and you can come race SMAC whatever you want as long as you pass the puffer test, which makes sense. And then Ohio or Oswego says crate was the cheapest when we started the class, and we wanted it cheapest for people to get into. I guess some people say it's the GM crates aren't as reliable, but we haven't had many motor failures at Oswego. So, I mean, they all said we're doing it the smartest and cheapest way, and nobody wants to concede that at all. So we're just stuck at an impasse.
Who is saying
all three owners?
Oh, so all three. Yeah, that's. I mean, unfortunately, and so like I look, to each their own. When you're running your own series, fine, but I guess the problem is that I'm focusing on is Oswego cannot grow a field of cars.
Yes. It's been 8 years now. In 2019 it started, 18 it started, and I looked at the averages, and after I think 2020, it's stayed about the same. We averaged between 8 and 14 cars, 14 on a big night, 8 on a smaller night, and it's been stagnant. It's been the same 8 of us now for every week for at least for me 3 years. A couple guys have grown out. Tyler used to race, he's gone. Josh is gone. Chase Locke, former champion's gone. So a lot of these guys don't stay around that long. They're not going to stay around and race these 11 cars, especially when they're successful.
Well, and that's the hard part. And that's, I think, where, I mean, I don't understand the vision. I don't understand the thinking. I don't understand why, and I guess, and again, if you're in the chat, pipe up. What's the fix here? How do we build the field at Oswego? Because, we've had this long enough, and the thing I see is with the big blocks is, again, we're not seeing a lot of new rookies, hardly any new rookies into the big blocks anymore at Oswego.
Not that are buying their own cars, that's for sure.
So, well, and you kind of get like we traded Joe Gozick for Bob Reese, right? So while you gained one, you lost one. So it was a lateral move. And you mentioned like Ryan Locke. Well, we got Rencher now with that car. So again, we traded, we just moved it to a different spot. We didn't actually gain the driver. Right. we're seeing new cars built, new big blocks built, but they're being built for current drivers for the most part, maybe
Right.
one exception somewhere. So I mean, we're not seeing a lot of new interest, and I think this is where um, I'm just not understanding why the Speedway management, why the leadership is not what is the plan? I mean, I do think when you only have 8 or 9 races a year, that's a problem because you're not going to invest a bunch of money just to go run that many races. Um, now you got ISMA for the big blocks, and there's a couple of Evans Mills or wherever for the SBS, but the 350s really don't have much unless you're going to travel to New England or travel to Ohio.
Right.
So I
Which that's another thing I mentioned in my post. If we could find even a rule set just for a few one-off races, do just like the Nicotra series, if we could do one at, I think we're going back to Lancaster, one at Oswego, Smack can pick one of their tracks, Star could even get involved, and we do a little 4 or 5 race championship in the middle of the season, since we do have so many off weekends. There'd be 30 350s there easily.
Well, if we allowed everybody to play together, that's the problem.
Exactly.
I mean, we have 5 different clubs for TQ midgets, and some of the clubs don't run wings, some of them run different wings, bigger wings, smaller wings, whatever. Okay, they all have their own rules of their race in their deal. Went to Florida, and they do every year at Auburndale in the spring for speed weeks, and got over 20 of them from all of those clubs to agree on a special rules package just for that few days of racing, where they're basically the star class besides the legend cars. And everybody loves it. Like, they found a way. Okay, Pass, late models, same thing. Built motor, crate motor, they found a way to exist together. And Super Cup Stock Car Series, same thing. It's like there's, I think the one dirt series there has multiple motor packages in it. It's not the Super Dirt series; it's the other one. I can't remember the name of it. But I do not understand why it seems like the management at Oswego they seem like they're okay with 10 or 11 cars. That's the vibe that you get, because they don't seem to want to find a way. And I think there's probably some, like I said, there's probably some teams that would like to see it all crates. But the reality of the situation is you're not growing the field.
Right.
And so it's, again,
if Oswego was giving me tires or fuel or something to help them test, and they said, okay, it's not worth our money anymore, we don't want to do that, that's one thing. But they've put nothing into it. All they've done is collect data from me every single time I've been on the track this year. And to get blown up on in the pits by the tech official who's been had his hands in our car every single time we come off the track all the whole year.
Yeah.
I don't know, that sucks. So
as soon as you cuss a tech official, you're going to get it. That's kind of it. But even before that, to have him come over and, and just kind of, it feels like an overreaction. Like
it definitely was.
There could have been some discussion, but that's.
It also seems like I've been in contact with pretty much everyone the last couple of days. And I talked to some of the officials at Oswego today.
Right.
And one of them definitely shares a very similar feeling to me. They told me that they thought the 40 plate was great. And if people were complaining about it, it would be worth looking into having RPM build a 50 plate just to
see
and settle on that.
Try it.
Apparently that didn't go over well with the rest of the officials and the tech people at Oswego. So that got put down pretty quickly. And instead they met in the middle and said, I can come back. As of today, they told me I could come back with that motor, but I have to put the 2-barrel back on. I'm like, I don't want to put that back on. That wasn't competitive at all. Just choking the motor down, risking hurting that. We weren't competitive. So I'm not going to come up there to roll around in 9th place just to give you guys one more card in the field. So
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I hate to see it. I mean, I love that class, and you're right about having some sort of series. There could be, but again, you got to get everybody to be able to play. If you're only going to have one or two of the groups there, you probably. I mean, we'll see how many we get at Lancaster, but if we got 12 or 15, 12 to 15 from Ohio, you'd have to have 7 or 8 at least from Oswego to to make a 24 car field. And I
I've
don't
heard
know.
they're at 23 as of today.
Okay, so
Pretty good field.
that's pretty good,
Very.
but
And
I
I'll be
mean,
very surprised if I'm not sure Joey's in here. I'm not sure if the Hawksbees are going. I think Mike Bruce is going, but I'd be very surprised if they weren't all at least on the podium or battling for the win, regardless of the engine deficit they're going to have.
well, I mean, is it really an engine deficit? I mean, I don't I still am not convinced here that this is a deficit for the Oswego guys at Lancaster, but maybe it is. I mean, tell me why you think it's a deficit. The track's darn near as big as Oswego.
You can throw this most recent comment up on the screen if you want. Mike Barbera said, if you're going to race Oswego, just put the crate in, work on your setup. And that's not at all what I'm worried about is setup. We were definitely very close in the car at Classic last year. At time trial, I think 4th or 5th quick to 16.7. So with the crate motor, obviously, I know we can be up to speed to race for the win, but that's not what this is about at all. It's about the whole reason why I was going to go SPAC in the first place is because I'd rather race 15 to 18 cars on different tracks than go to Oswego and race the same 8 guys every single time
Right.
with no variation. I mean, not last year, the year before, because we only have 8 to 10 cars, one person, because the way the handicap system works, started on pole 8 of the 10 races.
Wow.
I mean, that happens because there's so little of us, and they were having a few problems every week, and they'd pull off before the end to fix whatever. And then because they were getting bad finishes on the scoreboard, they're on pole again the next week. And it's like, when you have the same car starting pole that many times, or the same top 2 or 3, and I don't know, it's not even about going back and being competitive. If I want to throw the crate in tomorrow and they actually let me start, not last, and I go out and win, cool, okay, just beat 7 guys again. Like, it's not that they're bad guys, so it doesn't feel terrible because they're going really fast. I mean,
it's a good field of drivers, and
absolutely.
the cars are. This is not about lack of respect for the drivers or for the cars and equipment. It's simply about the total number of cars in the field.
Right.
And the fact that we started and then year 2 looked like it was going to go up, and then we've regressed ever since.
Yep.
And I just don't understand why that is. And I love seeing Joey Scanlon up there running with the Flying Five. I am so excited to see him out there with that car, which is a good car. I think that was one of Mike Barbera's cars. I think it was 45 car, right? And so I think it was. I think that's what he bought. And so I'm excited to see him. I'm excited to see Jim Storis. I'm excited to see those guys coming and running. But even with those guys, we're lucky to get past 10 cars. And that's where I just, let's see what Joey says here. I'm sorry, guys, I can't read your, there it is. Smack has had a few races with low car count also. Sure. Yeah.
I think the lowest I saw this year was 14, which, I mean, that's still good.
Yeah. Well, and again, if the 10 cars or 11 cars was an odd thing and we had 16 a week, I don't think we'd be having this discussion. But
somebody commented
is about it.
And they said you can't count on out of town cars coming every week. You got to focus on Oswego, and that's what they've done for 7-8 years now. Yeah. So I mean,
yeah.
And like you just said, without those 3, Eddie Whitcomb, Scanlon, Storis, without them coming from New England every week,
I don't know that
I wasn't there as well. And there's 2 other drivers that are currently racing the 350s. One of them said last week, it was 2 weeks ago now actually, that he thinks this is his last year doing a 350 simply because he's sick of racing the same seven,
Yeah,
8 guys.
that's what I'm
And
saying.
another one, I believe this is his last year in a 350. So if I left those two and the three from New England stop coming, you'd be really pressed for a driver.
Yeah.
So yes, you can't rely on the out of town drivers to come every week, but on any weekend they don't have something going on, if they have the ability to go to Oswego, there's a lot higher chance they will.
Well,
It's the home of super modifieds. Everyone wants to race at Oswego that owns one.
and I think that I think, some of these drivers, some of these folks here are forgetting something. Um, More cars equals more pit passes equals more fans, right? I mean, you're not, the 350 class is doing the speedway no good at 8 cars.
Right.
It's not. It just isn't. And this is where I just continue to wonder what the vision is. It's almost like, nobody is trying to think 2 or 3 or 5 years down the road. Like I keep hearing there's an availability problem, or a looming availability problem with Chevy big blocks, for the big block supers. And we've blown what, 5, 6 motors this year.
Yeah, a
Like,
lot.
if again, is this true, first of all? And if it is anybody discussing what we're going to do if we don't have a bunch of Chevy big blocks? Um, it's sometimes you got to be a little bit flexible here. The Oswego started the division in conjunction with Star.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so they went with a Star package.
Right.
Right. Um, and for the first year, you had more cars from Star than you did from Oswego, obviously, because it's new. Second year, we got a few more from Oswego, and it looked like things were pretty good. Then the New England cars stopped coming as much. And so it just has slid down every year until now. And it's leveled off at like 10 to 11 cars a week. You might get a week where we have 12, maybe 13, and then it's 9, and then it's 10. And if somebody blows the motor, or breaks the car and can't fix it for the next race, it's been fortunate, I think, that Oswego is like every 2 weeks right now, because I think people need that time to fix race cars. But
Definitely.
I mean, none of this here is trying to denigrate everybody. I just want to understand, the solution. Now, Clara, and forgive me, Clara, but my chat that I'm looking at is funny here. Let me see if I can get you. There you go. I see it on the screen. Simply in my option, I think it's opinion, Oswego needs to set rules of writing and not change them dependent on who shows up to race with the home track Oswego drivers. I think the intent, Clara, of this, and Brendan, correct me if I'm wrong, it says prioritize the home drivers. Well, I think, Clara, my thought on that is, as someone who's promoted racetracks before, more cars is better. And there's only 9 or 10 home drivers, if that. If, as Brendan, like Brendan just said, if you took away Storis, who's not a hometown driver, if you if you take away Joey Scanlon, who's not a hometown driver, okay, we had the 2 Ohio cars a couple weeks ago. I mean, you're barely touching 10. And
Right.
so I think what we need to do, and what the responsible thing to do is to look at, why can we not get hometown drivers interested? Is there not enough races? Is there, I mean, Brendan, have you ever actually, I know they have meetings once in a while with you guys, but do you guys ever get polled, like, to ask, what would you like to see? What would help you to better be able to do you ever get, how do you think we build the field up?
We did have a drivers meeting last fall, and I spent the entire hour, 2 hours we were there saying we just need to open it up. I understand. Okay, people say the motors will cost more money, but if you go online and look at a crate motor that's ready to go from an RPM or something like that, you're pushing 15,000 anyway.
Yep.
So at this point, crate isn't really cheaper, I would say, than getting a reliable built motor. So the whole time was, let's just open it up. Let's open it up. They're done with this. And I'd say 75% of the other drivers we're nope, we don't want to spend the money. Somebody's going to come with a $30,000 motor and blow us away. We're not doing that. And so we just said, okay, we're doing the exact same thing we've done the last 8 years, and that's how it settled.
So
So
somebody is concerned about the price of somebody's motor. I guess my question is if you look at this based on horsepower, if you're dynoing it and your horsepower is within range of somebody spending half as much money, what's the problem? Right? Like if we're sealing the motors and we have an official motor guy, and if you look and say, okay, here's your minimum or your range, you can't exceed X amount of horsepower. Just like with tires, people get concerned sometimes that people are having taking liberties with tires. So it's just a durometer. It has to durometer at least this. I mean, if it doesn't, you're out. Take the tire off. It's pretty simple.
So this year, Pat Morrison is supposed to be sealing all the Oswego motors with a max of 435. So just the normal crate range.
Why are we worried about it? Did he have to seal yours? Your smack?
No.
Oh, okay.
See, if there's not a Morrison seal on it, the rules say you must run the 2-barrel with a max of the 4.0 gear. So you can come with any motor you want, but you're just going to be a second and a half, 2 seconds off the pace.
Yeah, and so then anybody worried about a 30,000, that's it. It just needs to be a horsepower max. That's it. Run anything you want. Here's the horsepower. And then what you would do is take your smack motor and figure out how to hit that range.
Right.
Am I wrong?
That seems like that's how we would do it. Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's interesting. So let's see, Michael. Again, be patient with me, Michael. I'm learning my tech here as I go. Guys are not to travel week to week for the same reasons you haven't raced smack yet. He says. I guess he's talking to you on this, Brendan. Time and money. 350 is backyard racing. I don't know if a $15,000 motor is a backyard race car, but he also says, what does a crate cost versus what does a smack engine cost? Again, we're worried about costs. Michael, please explain to me, if you would, if we have a maximum horsepower, if we put your motor on a dyno and it has to be at this horsepower or less, what does it matter what you spend on it?
Just Googling quick 350 crate motor. They're looking right around 10 grand. And I was told the RPM is 13.5 with the headers and everything ready to go on the motor. And my smack motor was right around that same price. So,
okay. Yeah. So I guess they're about the same, or at least that was your experience. And I guess because I've always thought, like, I sort of looked at smack like it was, because ISMA, that was my whole thing with ISMA too, with the big blocks years ago. They want to twist the crap out of the motors. So when you go from Oswego to an ISMA show, the motor, it's different. I don't know if it still is, but it was. And I feel like smack went the ISMA route. Basically, those guys just wanted to, they wanted to play. And so we're going to turn this into a built motor. And, but the question then becomes, and I'll put, sorry, I had that one up already. I was trying to put Justin's up on. I'll get there in a minute. I think the question that I have is, why can we not, with horsepower equal this out? I mean, what, you know more about motors than I do, so tell me why a horsepower max wouldn't work.
I don't know anything about motors, honestly. All I do is drive the car. I can barely set the thing up, obviously.
Last smack motor, 480 horsepower, 7,200, according to Justin. And then let me see. Again, I can't see last names in the chat. Justin Harris. Last smack motor was 480 horse, cost $7,200. And I'm going to bring Joey's stream on here. Justin, what is the horsepower in a good smack engine? Okay, he was responding to Joe. So 480 horse, $7,200. So I don't know. I'm just trying to facilitate something here, and I just wanted to get all sides out there because I'm so, and honestly, I'm disappointed because when I end this thing, I'm going to end it no less confused than I was when I started as to why this is such a big deal. Michael Barbera, Charlie Caprera had one out of a Muldoon car that he wanted $25,000 for.
Well, he's a car salesman, so that makes sense.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I love Charlie to death.
Me too. Great guy, but obviously he's going to wheel and
Charlie
deal.
Caprera fan, but of course, I mean, it's all about profit, man. Now, I'm also not saying it's impossible that somebody actually spent that on a.
Oh, absolutely not. You could definitely. I'm sure there's no limit to what you could spend on one of these engines.
You know, and look, I'm not saying Mike Muldoon wouldn't, but I'm pretty sure he wouldn't. You know, and I say that only because I think that Mike's, and again, I think race car matters. Like you said earlier, you know, a brand new Hawk car that's, you know, built specifically for Oswego is going to, you know, it's going to work better than a 20-year-old chassis. So, you know,
right. So yeah, we can spend unlimited budget on the chassis. We just can't spend more than 5,000 on the motor, is what we're saying.
Right.
Which, I mean, if we're saying money is a problem, then let's all get 25-year-old Vic Miller and Graves cars and run them only. Nothing made newer than 2005. Well, then we'll really save costs.
And I don't want to do that, honestly.
No, nobody does.
And here's why. Because if we had started that way and there were enough of those cars out there that were safe and could be turned into, then I have no problem with that. I don't want to get into, you know, New Hawk versus this, because now you get to a point where you can argue all day just about, you know, and there's, I mean, Joe's racing with this guy. That's what I'm trying to figure out here is how do we find a common ground. Now, Michael's saying, you know, that 7,200 was for a rebuild after they paid 10 for the motor. Well, that just adds up to 17.2. Like that's still less than the 25. And so I'm just not crates are not, you know, we're not talking about a huge amount of money here. And I still think, and I'm waiting in the chat for somebody to explain to me why we couldn't use a max horsepower and leave it at that.
And everybody in the chat, Michael Barbera, obviously he's the one that got me in the 75 to start. So I appreciate everything he's done for me.
Of course,
anytime he sees me struggling, comes over and offers a hand. So
Mike's awesome.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
And same with Joey. We talk every single race. Obviously, me and his kids have had a couple of run-ins, but that'll happen on the track. Yeah. But and guy can build a car better than just about anybody on the planet. So he knows what he's doing over there, and he's got them boys hooked up. And I think, like I said earlier, I don't think anybody with doesn't matter what horsepower motor they are, if they're not a regular Oswego person, I don't think they're going to come beat either the Hawksbees or Mike Cruz. They're rolling this year for sure. I mean, the pace now, I was looking at the laps, the winning lap times from the last 5 years. And last year was the first time we really started touching like 16.9s in the feature a little bit. I mean, Josh was even like low 17s. My win last year, my fastest lap was a 17.3.
Was it a 3?
I thought in my win, And this year, every single feature has been under a 17-second lap. I mean, we're just everybody's really hooked up now, absolutely flying. So
let's see. Michael says
580.
I sold my car to Robert Watts. He told me himself that his smack engine is 580.
I've never heard anybody tell me anything over 550 for a 350 motor before. That could be true. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I know the Ohio guys start pushing toward 500, and from what I've heard from most of the smack guys, is they're right around that 500 mark as well.
So
like once you go past that, you're just asking to grenade a motor.
Well, yeah, I mean, but there again, you know, that, and you know, just the smack guys can afford to grenade motors, apparently, you know, so they have no issue with that, and that's fine. You know, I'm not trying to change anybody's rule. I'm trying to figure out how we can build a field at Oswego. And I'm saying right now, we're not letting all the available cars play. And so how do we entice more people to build a car and race Oswego? Is my question. And
that's the only question you won't find an answer for. I mean,
yeah,
we
I
can
mean,
sit
nobody
here
in the
and
chat knows.
we
Is
can sit here and
Oswego
argue back and forth
yeah.
till we
Well,
turn
and,
blue in the face.
you
But
know,
I haven't
it's
heard one suggestion of, okay, let's do this.
yeah. I mean,
And
it's
that's
not
what I
an
tried to
argument.
do the whole year was let's just keep trying stuff. I'm not taking it away from everybody. I'm
No,
just going out there getting some data. So hopefully classic time, that was the goal, was for classic, we finally have a package because everybody wants to race classic. No,
of
everyone wants
course.
a ring. And if there was a way for the smack drivers to come, for the Ohio guys to come, star guys are already going to come.
Yep.
Even if you got 5 from each, that's a big field of cars now. We have 11 at Oswego, 5 smack, 5 up. You're now pushing closer to 30 cars pretty
Well,
quickly.
yeah, and I think the division is worth it. I mean, and honestly, if we could just figure this mystery out, you know, I think that you'd start seeing more people buy these things, and we could do more, like you said, have some bigger races or whatever. You know, and so Michael, I think it's pretty simple. Max horsepower 430, max torque 430, give or take 5 horsepower.
Joey said need to dyno test engines over the winter on the same dyno. I agree with the same dyno.
I do agree.
But how are you going to get people from Ohio to come to Oswego to dyno a motor?
Well, that's what you run into, right? And so how do we do that? How do we figure out how to keep everybody in line, unless you're going to tell everybody with a 350 super that wants to run Oswego that they have to go and have it dynoed from Pat, who I think, by the way, is one of the nicest guys I've ever met in my life, right? Like, I just think the world of Pat. Just thought I'd throw that out there. You know, I don't know otherwise how you do it. I think, you know, the idea is you've got to have some sort of limitation, okay? Or you got to get into gear, or you got to get into weight, you know. And I mean, those things have been done, but you know, nobody really wants to, right? But you're just trying to keep, you're trying to find a way to make everybody equal. And I think that was the point of what I wanted to do tonight. You know, it's so Justin, good thing Jeffrey Battle, Bobby Timmons, Ben Tinker, Ben Tinker all won with crates against this so said 580 horsepower motor. You want to respond to that, because I don't know how to respond to that. I guess what I would say to that is I wonder where that was.
I think it's several different SMAC races is what he's talking
Okay.
about. This year, I think even crates have won at SMAC.
So the horsepower,
a little bit smaller tracks,
doesn't matter as much. Yeah. So that would be the answer, right? I thought he was talking about, because I didn't remember Timmons ever coming to Oswego, and Tinker either. So
no, yeah, that's a SMAC thing he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean it seems to me SMAC, and I didn't think this was the case until last year, but it seemed to me like SMAC's more friendly with the crate motor group than most people are with the SMAC group, apparently.
Oh yeah, they'll let anybody come race. I saw another comment. This is completely not totally off topic. Somebody else, we've talked about this before, said, I would love if they just took the top wings off. And I said, that would do everything the track wants. They always say they need to slow us down. And that if they didn't start with wings, that would have been the end all be all. I think a lot of big block drivers would say, I can run my car, just put a small motor on it, and they'd actually switch over. That's a dead horse, but that would have been the ideal thing, honestly.
Yeah, but I think it's worth a comment here. At least I'll comment on it, because as you say, had they started the class that way, that might have been one thing. But now, if you do it, you're even further alienating Oswego cars, because everybody else runs with a wing. Right. So I don't know that it helps you build the field.
No, it doesn't. If that started that way, we'd probably already have 20 cars.
If you had 6 guys or 10 guys that said, I will build and run a car next year if you take the wings off them, then
Well,
okay,
I
now
have
you're
talked to many big block drivers about why they're still spending 50 grand for a motor and not switching. And many of them say, well, you're running a crate motor. I don't want to just jump in it and be flat foot the whole way around the track. That's barely even racing. I mean,
well.
we're so on edge to try to get by each other right now. It's insane.
There's
So,
another thing.
I mean,
And I know that's boy, that's Joe Huxby. I will pay the gas bill for him to come. Hey, Ohio guys. Um, Joey, you want to cover hotel too? If you do that, we might get him up here. Let's see what else we got. Star Speedway used to run topless night. Okay. I mean, I'm okay with a topless night. I don't know if that I don't know that I think it's. And again, I don't care. I personally don't care if they take the wings off or not. I'm just looking at it as a business decision. Going,
yeah,
well, if you're going to do that,
we're already
how
pretty
many
deep
people are you
for
going to
that.
get? Michael Barbera, Jeffrey Battle raced. Let's see. Jeffrey Battle race, the smack race at Evans Mills was ready to go around Muldoon until they tried to put him in the wall and they banned him because he was going to beat the Muldoon cars. Okay. I can neither confirm nor deny that, but what Michael says. So, because I don't know if it happened or not. I will say this again. I think I think the main thing is we have to either try to find some common ground, or I just don't see, because what you don't want, Brendan, is you don't want the big block guys dropping down.
I would love that.
Big block, well, you would, but the the big block field doesn't have enough cars for 3 or 4 or 5 people to be dropping down and running 350s.
Let's get rid of big blocks. Open the motor up, take the top wing off, and just have everybody in a 350.
Man,
save a lot of money.
And
the racing would be phenomenal.
Well, I mean, the racing, not
if you're saying we're running out of big block motors anyway,
but if you
a few more go down, they might not have a choice.
So let me ask you this, Brendan, and again, I'm just trying to facilitate here. So if you eliminate the big blocks and you open up the 350s, don't we just have the big blocks with a 350 motor?
Yeah.
I mean, when
smaller tires,
when the cost go up to that to build big block, or sorry, get confused, 350 motors, if you're opening up the rules, I think you've got to have some sort of limitation. The whole point of the 350 is to be a cost effective class to race in. I think when you do start hiking up to 30 grand or more for a motor, so I think you gotta, whether it's a horsepower dyno or whatever you got to do, but you got to have some sort of limitation, or you're just going to end up with the same issue because people can't afford to spend big block money. That's why you're not seeing rookies running.
Right.
So again, from a business standpoint, I look at this and say, well, we're trying to save cost and nobody wants to make the big blocks cheaper. So
no.
I mean, I've had that discussion with I don't know how many different people, and nobody wants to do it. So I don't know where you go with that. Nobody wants to look at different tires. Nobody wants to look at different motor packages or whatever. Nobody wants to do anything in the big block side. So I think what you're seeing at Oswego is this is the best it's going to get. I don't think we're going to jump from 15 cars a week to 22 cars a week for the Oswego shows. Now the Nicotra shows are different. And I don't think that we're going to, I don't see us suddenly getting 6 more 350s. Because there's 350s out there that aren't running.
Right.
And so, and since nobody here, and I was hoping somebody in the chat might have some insight as to why the field isn't growing, but nobody said anything. So I don't know what the answer is because I'm not involved. It just,
I mean, long story short, if you add them all up, Star, Smack, Oswego, Ohio, there's 15 to 30, maybe 50 of us racing total weekly. Yep. And like you said earlier, if dirt you can have more custom rules to each track when there's 500 cars just in New York State. When
Yeah.
there's 60 from Ohio to Maine,
Yep.
somebody's got to say, okay, enough's enough. I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna do these rules. We have 4 different rule packages, 3, I guess we'll say, 3 different rule packages. Now Ohio is trying to say, we're close enough, um, so we should be able to come run wherever. I don't know. It's
Muldoon
I just said I don't have enough money for the 350.
Muldoon
Yeah,
had a
let me.
master engineering idea when he built your car. I guess again, Michael, I think he's talking to you
Yep.
about the car you have. Just for everybody else that's watching us, built your car to allow a big block to fit in it. So if you're not happy with the 350, put a big block in it. Well, again,
That's the whole thing I'm saying. Don't have money for a big block.
that doesn't make. I mean, Mike Muldoon's a smart guy, but that doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Oh no, my car can put a big block in it.
Well, I'm not saying that.
It does have the adapter for it. That is true.
If you're not happy with the 350, put a big block. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Or the big block to begin with, you'd be racing in it.
Right.
That.
Yeah, if I had big block money, I'd be in one.
That doesn't solve a problem.
No, we go back to what I was just saying. We still got 60 cars total. One of these owners have to get together and say, okay, what can we do to at least meet in the middle here? If each track sacrifice, if Smack said, okay, we won't use the $2,000 shocks, and Oswego said, okay, we'll put a cam in our motors or something, and we all said, all right, we'll all meet in the middle here. This is what we're doing. Now we can actually all travel whenever is available to us.
And that's what's
do a few big races a year.
Yep. That's what's made ISMA get better again, is because now they made a schedule that included all the races and nobody's trampling at anybody. So you start to see more Oswego guys traveling to some of the ISMA shows. And
and the ISMA guys come to Oswego heavy.
Right. And the ISMA guys, which is the Decotra series, the ISMA guys come to Oswego, and some of them are even running the tailwing. So I gotta hate, first of all, Joey, I really appreciate you hanging in the chat with us. I do. And I love his comment. Justin says Hawksby better be ready for mass production. Joey says I'm ready to retire.
He just built the best super that's ever hit the speedway. He can't retire.
He is getting old. I mean,
old, yeah. What, mid 40s, 50s.
Joey, well, no, I don't think he's that old. It might be 40. Jeez, I don't know. I lose track so easily anymore. But
he's got another 20 cars in him.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we can get Joe to confirm. Rumor has it there's 2 more cars coming off the Hawksby line here for
one of them's delivered, is what I was told.
Oh, okay. So that would let's see, what we have, Tyler Thompson and Mike Bruce. So I'm pretty sure Bruce's, and I'm also pretty sure Thompson's. I think Tyler Thompson's urgency went up after Flamborough. So and by the way, like, if anybody is here from Vic Miller's team, mad props for bringing that car every week for Tyler to race.
Yeah, that was really cool.
That's awesome.
That's super nice.
It's, it hasn't seemed like Tyler, but Muldoon can build 5 cars in 1 winter. Hawksby takes 2 years. So here we go. See, this is why we do these shows live. This is what I wanted, an active chat. Let's see. We got Rick Young. Michael Barbera, you have a lot of comments, but not coming up with ways to grow the field. Well, nobody is.
We're trying to.
We're trying to. And really, I just think it's good to have a forum once in a while. And because I really, the thing is, you guys have your meetings, but the fans don't get to see any of that.
Yeah.
And I think it's good. And again, I appreciate Joey Hawksby and Mike and everybody else that's in here, giving their 2 cents. And it doesn't mean, look, I'm not trying to, be disrespectful to anybody. I just am trying to figure out why Oswego can't grow a class that should be very affordable.
Well, I was told today that at the drivers meeting this weekend, the 350 drivers will be told that they want us all to come together and work on a rule package that all of us drivers can agree on, and then get that together and return it back to the speedway saying this is what we would all like, because they're sick of the back and forth just as much as we are. And I don't think there's going to be any sort of progress in that whatsoever, if we're being honest. I've
Now,
talked to a
come
few other
on.
drivers. Some of them, one of
You're
them
optimistic
said,
here.
I'll go buy a built motor tomorrow if they open it up. Um, I don't know how Joey feels. I do. Joey so far has been very strong, crate, which that's fine. I mean, if that's his stance, I'm not going to try to change his opinion on it.
I've
But
always agreed with that, by the way, but
it's just it hasn't worked.
it hasn't worked.
That's the biggest problem. Is
No cars.
so try something. And so if all of us drivers, we've got a couple from SMAC in here tonight. I've been texting people from Ohio and SMAC all day. I've also talked about, which I'm sure all the Oswego drivers will get upset about this. I pitched the idea of August 15th. Let's do a no points for the speedway, open the rules up and tell everybody with a 350 come race, and we'll see wherever it actually is at. No points, we'll still get paid however we finish, but no points. Let's get everybody here August 15th. There's no Ohio race, there's no SMAC race. SMAC's off till October from the weekend before. Get 6 from
Oh, wow.
each and
October.
us. Yeah, end October, but let's
Wow.
get all of us on the same page. Just open it up for a night and see what happens. And unfortunately, I don't think many of my fellow Oswego drivers would show up for that event. I think they would boycott that, which is just shooting themselves in the foot. But I did talk to a couple SMAC drivers that said they would be interested. The only downside for Ohio is it's right before their track championship night. Same for us.
Well,
But in a couple weeks before a classic, give us a good heads up of this is what it could be.
do we have I mean, I haven't looked at the points since the last race. Do we have any, I mean, there's not a ton of points money in the division to begin with, but I mean, the only thing I would say to that is that I think that it's there's not enough points races as it is.
I don't know. A couple weeks ago, there was like the top five for the 350s were all 3 points separate. I'm like, wow,
Yes,
this is
so
close.
I don't think we want to jeopardize that, but honestly, the idea of let's see, I will build engines. Just didn't think that was the right direction for the class. So Joey, I guess you're talking about you would build built motors, SMAC type
I
motors.
think that's what he's
Is that what
saying.
he's
Yeah.
trying to, I just again, I'm just trying to keep it clear for everybody else. Hey, I mean, look, I don't necessarily think it is either. I mean, the thing is, like, there's got to be some way to come up with some sort of a horsepower max or something. There's got to be a way so that it doesn't create this environment for everybody to just go build motors. I mean, if you've got a crate, run the crate. If you got a, SMAC or built, or, I guess SMAC and Ohio are both technically built, even though Ohio starts as a crate. It's, and see the Ohio thing, I kind of understood it territorially because I think there were some other divisions that had that motor package, which is why you had a couple of people from other divisions that went into the supers because they had that.
They had sprint cars or something out there too. I don't remember exactly
right.
what it was.
And so
yeah.
I get why they originally did that. I've seen it in so many other divisions where we can make different motor packages work. I just don't know why we can't figure it out at Oswego, because if you ever could, like you said too, and I've said it for a couple of years now, the classic would have 30 to 35. You'd have more 350s for their classic than you would have for the supers.
Right.
That's
why I so badly wanted a little exhibition race before to see how close we really are. I don't think I'll give the SMAC drivers their flowers. I think there's a lot of very good drivers down there, but adjusting to a track like Oswego with their current setups, I don't think they're coming out of the box and touching the top 4 or 5 cars.
Well, yeah, but hang on. You can't just think like that, because maybe for a race or two that'd be true. But what happens when they run a
season, they would dial it in, yeah.
Like you'd have fast Friday practice or whatever, right? So I think you'd have. But again, there's got to be some way to do this. It's just everybody keeping an open mind, and maybe it'll take another year for the right idea to surface. But there's got to be a way to do this, because it's sad that the Oswego Speedway cannot field more than 10 or 11 of these things on a regular basis. It is, and I'm going to offend some people when I say this, but it's true. You can't, it's the third class right now. The SBS class is consistently 20 to 25 cars.
That's the number one class for car count.
It really is. If you're talking about car count, that's the biggest class up there. The big blocks, when there's an Ecotra show, we get 20 plus. When there isn't, we're 15, 16, 17. And I mean, yeah, most of the drivers are still young enough to keep doing it for a while, as long as they can do it economically, afford to do it, in each of their cases. But I feel like there's nobody trying to take this thing 5 years out and say, where does this need to be in 5 years? And that's what's really frustrating to me, because that's what a good businessman does, is they sit down and they figure out, here's where we are today, here's where we want to be in 5 years or 10 years, and they start working toward that. And I just am not seeing it. And I don't blame Joey for saying, I didn't think that was the right direction for the class. And I happen to agree with him. Okay, Michael says, Tom, there is a horsepower max, it's 430. Okay, well, so if it's 430, and that is in the rule book.
Yeah.
So your motor is what, Brendan?
It's never been dynoed before.
Oh, okay. So it'd be interesting to see what that is.
It would.
And because again, my
comparison though, the comment right below, Joey said Talon's on his 4th year on his crate with no rebuilds, spent 12.5 race ready. So for comparison, my motor was $1,500 more than that for my big bad smack motor.
1,500, so
14,000. Yeah.
14. But how often does that need a rebuild?
I was told 3 years it should be fine. Okay. Obviously, I haven't ran it that much, but.
And Joey says Talon's on his 4th year. So that seems fairly even. We got, hello, Danny Shirey. Hey, man. First of all, before I even get to your comment, thanks for coming to Oswego and helping out. Appreciate you and Sawyer a bunch. Only make rules you're willing to tech. I'm going to bring that back. Only make rules you're willing to tech every night. You can easily check CBI, camera the cylinders to make sure it's a flat top, and go no gauge for carb. You're only going to get so much horsepower. And I wholly agree with that too. Anytime you have a crate, you have to tech the living smack out of these things. No pun intended. You have to tech the living crap out of anything that's a crate, because there's just too much temptation. I'll leave it at that. I'm not saying, that's why I'm saying it's crazy to me to see a crate motor, run 16.7. The Hawk cars are the only ones that are able to run those speeds, it seems like. And again, not saying we should ban the Hawk cars. Don't anybody get
ban them, get them out of here. Big blocks only. Sorry, Joey.
But let's see, Joey, I've reached out to the local guys not racing and had no luck getting him to come.
Yeah, so, that sucks. I know there's several that are built ready. They've fast ride-ed a couple of them, and they just don't come on race night, unfortunately.
And so the question is why? Joey, did they say why they're not racing? That would be the question. And
I know Classic last year, we had a driver that was one of our regulars get DQ'd for, I guess, a balancer or something that was aftermarket.
Yeah, well,
I don't want to name any names.
I will, because
he did. He won, I think, Mr. Super as well 2 weeks before that. So
yeah, Nick Percy. That's right.
There's a pretty good chance he had it in there as well. I don't know. I've heard that he technically wasn't illegal. I've heard he was illegal. I don't know what the real stance is on that.
Well, but
there was another driver that admitted he had that exact same balancer in his motor. And he asked several times, if I get tore down next year with this in the car like it is right now and was this year, will I be DQ'd?
I know who that was too, but I won't say it.
Our tech team said, yes, you'll get DQ'd. You need to change that. And then 3 minutes later said, oh, no, actually, you can run that. And then they said, nope, you're getting DQ'd again. And I told them, no, you're fine. 4 different times back and forth within a 20-minute meeting.
Yeah,
so I don't
pick something. And
so it didn't add horsepower, but I don't know. I don't even know what that does in the motor.
It's less rotating mass. And the fact is, it's illegal. It doesn't matter, and nothing else matters. And so I will never agree with a driver who says, "Well, but it's like not a competitive advantage," just like the hubs that some of the guys had in the SBS class. It's like, sorry, less rotating mass is in fact a competitive advantage. Otherwise, you wouldn't be running them in the first place. Yeah. So that doesn't make any sense to me. But and that's true. I really hadn't thought about the fact that Nick hasn't been racing there.
And you went race smack this year.
Okay, well, and again, that's totally his deal. He's entitled to do what he wants to do. But that's, again, I come back to, if you can't handle being teched, found illegal, and thrown out, then Oswego's probably not. It shouldn't be. I love tracks that have absolute zero tolerance. People make fun of Ricky Brooks or, complain about him all the time in the late models, the short track late models, because Ricky it's the room of doom, right? You're at the snowball. Like, he'll tear you down to nothing because he wants to make sure that you're good. And, right. Everybody complains, but, considering that everybody goes, yeah, that man even threw Chase Elliott out. Well, yeah, when you have tungsten weight instead of lead, that's kind of, it's like he raided the Hendrick shop for weight for the car. So you just have to, tech should be extremely tough. There should be none of this. Don't bring it back. If you're illegal, you're out. And if you do that with everybody, regardless of who you are or what your last name is, nobody has a right to complain. I don't know. I mean, you can tell us better, Brendan, but do you feel like they're doing enough?
I haven't been in the top 5 yet this year, so I don't know. I haven't made it to tech. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't know. I know last year they got some machine that was supposed to test motors or something. I don't know if they've even used it yet this year. I'm not sure if they're cutting tires or checking fuel or anything.
Okay.
I'd assume at least checking carbs probably with the gauge because that's super easy. But Joey would know. He's always in victory lane. He can probably tell us what tech is.
At least on the podium, man. Joey and it was great to see Dawson and Talon both get wins this year, and obviously they're not finished. It's I just, like I said, there's a lot of very talented racers in that class.
For sure.
I hope we can get Robbie a win here. Renshaw works.
He's been this close so many times. Every night I watch, I'm like, oh, yep, he's gonna get it this night, and then something happens. 4 laps ago, we have a restart. I'm like, oh my gosh.
So
the place is cruel to him.
Danny's like, hey, he says, I hope to be back. Good. I'm happy to hear that, Danny. And I hope you guys all have a great show at Lancaster. It's been a lot of fun. So, Michael, I'm going to try to read this without bringing it on the screen for a minute, and I will. One last comment from Michael. When talking about car count, the SMAC Series owner owns 6 cars, field fillers. You guys have a good night. This was fun. Brendan, put the purple car back together and let's go. When you start beating the same 7 guys every week, then it's time to worry about, not all of it ends up on screen. Worry about the class. Honestly, I love that comment partially.
The first half was good.
I think
I don't know. I'm not here to hate. I gave him
for everybody.
I gave Mike his flowers earlier. I don't like being talked down to.
I don't think he's talking down to you. I think he's just.
It seems like it. When I start winning, then I can worry about the class. Well, that's the thing. If there's 20 cars, though, even if I'm not winning, right now the first 5 check out in a freight train. If there's 20, you're battling through the whole pack. It's way more fun to drive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's
even if you're racing for 10th, you're still racing somebody. You're still passing. If I start 20th and get to 10th, hell yeah, I just passed 9 cars. I had a lot of fun. But if I get 6th and the top 5 cars are in a train at 17.0, half the track up in front of me, how much fun did I have? Like the small blocks, it's the same 6-7 guys that win most of those races. It's a pretty talented field. I know Crawford, he just got a win. He's real young. That's cool.
Well, that's the thing. Like,
you're battling front to back the whole race. That's why nobody wants to move. You're always in a race. Even if it's not for the win, you're in a race.
It's so big. Oswego's such a big track. When you only have 10 cars, it's not much of a race.
Right.
You might get a battle here and a battle there, and sometimes you get, 3 cars battling together. But And Joe
Like,
makes a great point. The 10 cars we have are quality cars and safe. I'll go ahead and put
absolutely.
this on the screen for everybody. Quality cars and safe. We just need 5 more. How do we get them?
Yeah, I think we take the top guys from Oswego and go to any track, and they're going to be competing for
Of
wins
course,
everywhere they go. It's a
100%.
really tough field.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
small, but it's tough for sure.
And I mean, I feel like we could go on with this for another, another hour, but I feel like we've kind of gotten a good mix of comments and opinions. And again, I if you're in the chat, so I don't have to try to go back and miss somebody. If you're in the chat, thank you for being a part of this. I mean, I know Joey doesn't have to come on and
Yeah,
risk
that was cool.
being
I didn't know he was going to
whatever.
be in.
Michael, everybody. Danny, really appreciate everybody. I mean, my goal here is to facilitate discussion and try and come up with things, not myself, but through everybody's input. It's sad because I had such high hopes for the 350 class at Oswego, and I'm just not seeing I'm not seeing any hope for the future that suddenly we're going to bust out 5 more cars every week, and I want 10 more, to be honest.
Yep.
Just like I want 5 or 10 more of the big blocks. And so I think we all need to keep talking. I really do. I think everybody needs to keep talking. And
I think that's part of the problem, though, is we keep talking, but not even one, all of these track owners and series owners need to swallow their pride and say, okay, my package has been working. Let's do this, because you're not going to come every week. But if we can stagger schedules just a little bit, and have a common rule package, so anybody can come. Maybe not every race will be 15, 20 cars. If there's 4 races a year with 12, and the other 4 or 5 had 16 to 25, cool. Yeah. I think we did our job.
I wish we could just have more races.
Yeah, I think that's
the biggest. If you want,
I was told today, next year there will be more races.
Yeah, if you want 5 more cars, here's what you got to do: you got to add about 5 or 6 more races.
Yep.
Then you might get more cars. But I think where it comes to, I think Oswego right now, that the staff at Oswego is that, I mean, I know they've tried. So I want to put this out there because they changed the rules the beginning of the year. The 2-barrel thing obviously didn't work. It just makes everybody too slow. So and you don't want to disadvantage because if you're going to make the guy run 8th place every week and not be able to compete, he's not going to show up from Ohio.
Yeah, they were okay with me when I was nowhere close, but as soon as I got a lap time in the same vicinity, they said, "All right, you're done. We want you to be here, but we don't want you to win." Okay, see ya.
I watched that in 1979 in the Classic, and so and they kicked everybody out that got one of those. But yeah, it's just something I think everybody needs to keep trying and keep working on. And as far as like and I wish that the Ohio guys would find, again, I think, again, how many SMAC guys would run? I don't know, but I mean, shoot, you're coming to Lancaster, now that you're stretching the travel, you might get some of those guys.
Those series already travel every week.
And
so if they have an off weekend, why would they not come to the home of Super Modifieds?
Exactly. And I think it would be cool and I've said this for 2 years on my show, let's have a Triple Crown, just like you do for the big blocks, but you have to be able to have all available cars first.
Right.
And there's still some interest in running the 350s in Florida. But honestly, the available funds, so to speak, might be pretty good. Okay, it's not going to be $40,000 a raise, but I mean, you can't even start that discussion until you have a common rules package, because nobody's going to pay a bunch of money up front to bring 10 cars. Right. That's just not a good show. So again, I want to thank all of you, because when I started this live again, this is exactly what I wanted. We don't need 100 people, but they're welcome. Everybody share. Let everybody know we're doing this every week. We're going to do it on Mondays at 9. is when it's going to be regular. I had an issue last night, so I decided to do it tonight. And when Brendan put his post out, it was like, hey, perfect opportunity to theme this show around that. Next week, by the way, Stephen Evans from the Land of Legends Raceway is going to be in here. We're going to talk dirt. And we'll probably talk some payment too, because Stephen loves that as well. But he's going to be our guest next week, Monday night, 9 o'clock Eastern, for the next Inside Groove Live. Brendan, talk sponsors, whoever you got to thank. Thank your parents. I think your mom was here earlier, and maybe your dad too. But thank your sponsors for us.
Yeah, thank you. Obviously, my family who came and watched, and my sponsors. I got my main run right here, Tracy Road, Dryden Hotel, and everybody who comes and watches every week. Thanks for coming and supporting us.
Cool. Well, thanks for jumping on with me and helping us to facilitate this. And again, everybody in the chat, thank you. I really appreciate it. Hope to see y'all back next week. We'll talk some dirt and who knows what else. But obviously Oswego, because they're running on Saturday night. And I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season. It should be a lot of fun. I'm still trying to get up there for the old timers deal on the 8th, but we'll see how that works. But anyway, we're going to close this Inside Groove, and I will say that for more content about supers, sprints, midgets, and everything else racing, we try to do the best we can to cover it all. SteeringWheelNation.com is the hub, and this channel at the SWM Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram. We're going to be kicking up the gram a notch. So if you're on Instagram, follow us there, follow us on Facebook, and follow us on X. And then, of course, the Inside Groove Show, the Tom Baker Show, Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern on PowerTube TV. We got over 4 million views. And oh, by the way, some of you might not know, we have talked super modifieds or something related to supers of some sort each of the last 3 or 4 shows. So make sure you go catch that Monday nights at 8 o'clock. PowerTube TV, which is Roku. We're on all of those big streaming. Just look for PowerTube TV and go to the podcast channel to get us. And again, thanks to everyone for joining us. Have a great night. Good luck at Oswego this weekend, everybody. And we'll catch you on the next Inside Groove, Monday night, 9 p.m., right back here with Stephen Evans on the 20th of July. Have a safe racing weekend, everybody. So long.